Hold up. Yeah.
Hey guys, how's it going? Shay from That Student Life. Now last night I was on Snapchat and I posted a photo of my Snap story of a page of a book that I was reading. Now this particular page, pretty good one, it had like some sort of little triple diagram of how you should pick your career, how to pick a meaningful career. It combined a couple of things which I'll show you on the whiteboard in a minute, but basically it had a really strong response. About 25 people direct messaged me asking what the book was and if they should read it. So I thought I would make a video on how to choose your ideal career, how to get a bit of guidance about what you should do in life, how you can get some meaning out of life and just have a pretty good working life because it takes up most of your day. So I've got a couple of tips for you guys today. Let's see what we got. Alright guys, so first of all I'm just going to redraw the diagram that I saw and posted from the book last one on Snapchat because that was a pretty helpful one and people seem to like that. So, alright, so it had one big circle, it had another big circle which overlapped, and had a third big circle which overlapped. Now in this top one here we had things you're good at, so things we're good at over here. Then we had things we enjoy / passion, so just things that we can just get lost in for hours and hours, and the things we do if no one paid us. And also down here we had societal values. So basically, this book said that the sweet spot is in here, where you're doing something that you are pretty good at, you have some talent for, something that you enjoy, that you're pretty passionate about, that you can you know what it's like when you're doing something that you really enjoy, you look at your clock and it's been 3 hours and you don't even realise. So those sort of things, and then also societal values. So you don't want to do something that you're morally opposed to. Most people get a lot of meaning and a lot of joy and a lot of value out of doing things that actually help others or help society or create things or help the city they live in or whatever. So basically, this diagram from this book, which everybody seemed to love, said that you need to find something that you're good at, something you enjoy, and something that brings value to society or the world needs. And if you can tick off all those three, you'll be golden. Okay guys, now the reason why that sweet spot is pretty important is because you don't want to do something that you kind of enjoy or that you really are passionate about, but you kind of suck at. Like, I'm not going to go out and be a professional singer or a professional rock star, even though that looks really cool and I'm sure I can get really passionate about it, because I can't sing, you know what I mean? And also, like societal value, we're going to add that in there, because if I'm doing something that I'm morally opposed to each and every day, then I'm probably not going to be enjoying myself, and if I'm not enjoying myself, I'm going to have lots of regret when I'm old, and that's not going to be a good career. And also, things you enjoy, basically, just because you're talented at something, the reversal, doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it. I mean, for example, Andre Agassi, one of the greatest tennis players in the world, I read his biography, he dead set hated tennis, hated every single minute on the court, just about. I mean, I don't know if that's 100% true, but he said that he hated it. So, I'm sure that wasn't the best career for him, even though he got super rich off it. But basically, just because you're good at something doesn't always mean you'll want to do it, and just because you want to do it doesn't always mean you'll be very good at it. So it's kind of important to have the balance and then tick off the societal value thing because you want to sleep well at night. But not a very tangible look at how we can do this. The next few steps will show us exactly some tangible steps to increase your ability to find a career which will meet those criteria for you. Alright guys, so let's unpack this diagram. Now the first part, things you're good at. Basically, in order to capture this diagram, this part of the diagram, sorry, you really need to just sit down with someone who knows you well, maybe your family, friends, or even just yourself if you know yourself pretty well, and just think about the things you're good at. What are the things that you don't really even have to put in that much effort for, and they kind of come naturally to you? For example, you might be really good at talking to people. Just naturally, it is who you are, that you can talk to anyone, you can relate to anyone, you don't even need to know them, you can have a great conversation with them in the shopping line or whatever. That could be a skill you have, a natural talent you have. Maybe you're really good at music, like you barely need to practice and you're just intuitively really good at making music or playing music or something like that. Or maybe maths, like you barely studied for maths in school and you always seem to nail it. Or I've got a few friends who 100% could almost turn up to an English exam having done barely any work and smash all of us because they were just genius writers. So, think about the things that kind of come naturally to you, the things that without too much effort you're actually pretty good at or you're above average. You might not have too many of them, but 2, 3, if you can think of those, write them down. Okay guys, now the second part of this diagram, as we saw, things you enjoy, things you're passionate about, basically what do you kind of do when you don't have to do anything else, or when no one's paying you, or when you're in your spare time? I mean, a really good marker of this is, just what are you doing when you could be doing anything? For example, I have spent, and this is before I changed to law and commerce, I spent many of my engineering classes watching the stock market. And that's how I kind of knew that I really should change over to commerce. It was what I was doing when I could have been doing anything, or I should have been doing engineering work. So that's a good reminder. Another thing is, when does time fly for you? For example, I have been, on a number of occasions, sitting down at my computer, researching stocks and investments and money and commerce type related stuff. And I can sit there for 2 to 3 hours at a time, and it feels like 10-15 minutes has gone past. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's happened enough for me to know that commerce is probably something that I'm very passionate about and that I very much enjoy. I could talk to someone for hours about it. So, as a practical example for me personally, what are my natural talents? Well, naturally, I can pretty much talk to anyone. I don't know if it's a good or bad trait, but I'm actually quite persuasive. I can argue quite well, and I can usually bring people around to my point of view pretty easily. I have always liked problem solving. I don't mind writing. I like researching. I like doing complex, very deep sort of things within my thought processes. So basically, problem solving and being persuasive kind of sounds like a lawyer, doesn't it? You know what I mean? So I'm in a law commerce degree, and I like analysing the stock market for hours, and I like solving problems, and I like working with people and helping people. All those things kind of point to what I'm doing at the moment. So it's just an example. You can look at those things that you're good at, look at those things that you enjoy, and then if you're morally okay with what you do, and if you think that you can bring value to people, you can help people, then hey, go for it. Okay guys, so at this point you should have sat down with a friend or family or yourself if you're pretty self-aware. You should have figured out the things you're good at. So for me, as I said, problem solving, I'm pretty good at talking to people, persuasion, public speaking, all that sort of stuff. Those things are what I'm good at. Things I enjoy, I really enjoy teaching people about the HSC, about university, about how to improve their lives, all that sort of stuff. I really enjoy doing deep things within my thought. I really enjoy commerce. I really enjoy learning about investments and stocks and all that sort of stuff. And I think that I can bring value to people through these videos or through my career as a financial advisor or a lawyer or whatever I end up doing. So basically, that's my triple threat. Now, what you need to do is think about those things, as I've said before, and you need to sit down with someone or jump on Google, and you need to start finding some careers which match up these three things. So, for example, you might say, hey, I like science, I like maths, I did chemistry and extension maths at school, and I really enjoyed those. Those classes, time went fast for me, and I was pretty good at them as well. I got pretty good marks, and I wasn't feeling like I was super struggling. Okay, no worries. But, I like maths and science, but I don't really want to work in a lab. I like people. I want to work with people. Okay, well, if you put all those three things in, you're probably going to churn out something like an engineer. And then if you think, oh, you know what, I'd really like to build something. I'd like to drive through my city and say, hey, I actually built that, or I helped build that, something that'll be there for a while. Well, if you told me that, I would say, well, maybe a civil engineer, maybe a structural engineer. They help build things, they use maths and science, and they work with people all the time. So you can see what I'm getting at. If you absolutely love people and you love chemistry and biology, maybe you should think about being a doctor or something, or like a chemist or something like that. Or if, pretty much all of my friends who are in law have always just been very good at arguing. Their parents, from when the time they were 4 years old, said, you just argue every point, don't you? You know what I mean? Those sort of people tend to become lawyers because you have to argue all the time. So, you can kind of sit down, jump on Google with some friends, with some acquaintances, with your career advisor at school or university, and you just want to say, hey, this is what I'm good at, this is what I enjoy, and this is kind of what I want to bring to society, this is how I want to do it, and there will be some career options out there for you. So you need to just think about it, spend half an hour, 20 minutes, I don't know, talk to some people who know some stuff, and you will be able to find 2 or 3 careers that match, I promise. Or a more unconventional answer. So, obviously my path was pretty simple, and the example I gave before about the engineer, that's a pretty direct route once you figure those things out. Maybe you're a little bit more ambiguous, you're a little bit more futuristic, say. So, for example, say you absolutely love basketball. You troll through Instagram and YouTube all day watching basketball highlights. You know the stats of all the major players, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so that's a little bit less direct because you probably, if you're 20 years old and you haven't been a professional basketball player already, you're probably not going to be a pro basketball player. So, what can you do? Okay, so you love basketball, right? And you just happen to have been pretty good at English when you're at school. You didn't mind writing, and you tended to do pretty well in those sort of humanities writing classes. Okay, no worries. So, what I think you should then do is, one, start a YouTube channel and a blog about basketball. Just get your passion out there, start engaging with people, making some good content, because that'll definitely, get you a bit of a brand name, a bit of a career insight, and it'll outlet for your passion. But while you're doing that, why don't you enroll in a communications or a journalism degree? So then, when you are finished, you can try and go and get a job at ESPN or Channel 9 Sports or something like that. You know what I mean? So that's a more unconventional version, but we live in a world in 2017, 2018 where you can do some pretty unconventional careers. I mean, you can turn a blog into, an advertising weapon where you make enough money to quit your job and just do basketball stuff. Alright, so what's the last step? You've answered all these questions and you sat down with a friend and you figured out a couple of careers. Maybe you've got 2, maybe you've got 3, maybe you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, who knows? Now, what you want to then do is get some practical advice from someone who actually works in that job, or get some work experience from someone who works in that field. Now, this can be easier or harder depending on whether you have someone in your family who does the job that you want, or that you found, or that you know someone, or someone can hook you up. If you definitely have that, then jump on it, no worries. But if you don't, like a lot of us don't, there's a couple other things you can do. I said in my previous video, jump on LinkedIn, make a LinkedIn account, which is like the Facebook for professionals. Find someone who does exactly what you want to do, or that you came up with as one of your suggestions, and hit them up with an email and say, or a message and say, hey, I think I want to do this for a living. What do you do on a regular day? Do you enjoy your job? What's the things that people think you do that is actually a lie, or that sort of stuff. Like lawyers always make jokes about it not being like Suits and Harvey Specter sort of stuff. So find out what the actual truth is, and that's not too hard. You can definitely do that. Just search Google. I don't know. Hit up your cousin's, uncle's, brother's, friend's, sister's girlfriend. I'm sure they probably do what you want to do. Anyway, so there's some resources out there. They might be simple, they might be harder, but you definitely want to go out there, see if you can get some experience, or see if you can get insight into what the truth of the job you think you would want to do is, and then kind of narrow it down to an even smaller bunch, maybe 2, 3, and then choose the one you think you would enjoy the most, and then have a crack at it. Because once you've gotten down to that 2 or 3 careers, I think you'd be happy in either one. Like for example, law, investing, commerce, and medicine, they're my top 3 career options. Now medicine doesn't love me back at the moment, but the other 2, including medicine as well for the 3rd, I reckon I would live a long and happy and meaningful and fulfilling life doing any one of those 3 careers. So whichever one happens, I'm sure I'll love and I'm sure I'll enjoy. So I'm not that worried about it. So basically, you want to summarize it down to 2 or 3, figure out what they do, and then go chase it. Okay guys, so I hope that helped you out. Look, it's a pretty simple process for a pretty complex area of your life. So it's going to take a little bit of work. It shouldn't take too much, but it will take a little bit. But yeah, look, happiness studies in the book that I'm reading have definitely shown that if you tick all of these 3, pretty good chance you're going to enjoy your life, and you're going to look back when you're 90 and say, hey, I wouldn't have done it any other way. And I think that's the main thing, you know what I mean? You don't want to spend 40, 50 years, 8 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week doing something you hate, something that you suck at, and something that destroys society. So make sure you tick all those things off, and I think you'll live a pretty good life. Now, it might not happen instantly, and you might not know instantly whether you've gone down the right path. You might second guess yourself for a little while, but eventually I think you'll know. Now, don't be too afraid to change if you make the wrong decision, and don't be too afraid to go ahead if you make the right decision for you, even if someone else doesn't agree. So, thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video, and as I posted at the front of the video, please add me on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram. I've had Snapchat going for a while. My name is That Student Shay on Snapchat, but Instagram I'll put below and in the description, all that sort of stuff. But just add me on there because I'm going to start using multiple platforms to put out some content and to keep you guys with me. So, thanks very much for watching. See you later. This particular page is a pretty good one, and